Yes, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. That's me, by the way. Yeah, thanks for all your comments here. Listen, if you've got any comments when you only see these videos or any of the other videos, you put them up below, and the comments thing, and I will do my very best to answer all of them. Don't forget, on the 7th of November, on the Sean Atwood True Crime channel, there's a 2-hour interview with myself and Sean Atwood, and that's going to promote the issue of the publication of my new book, HMP Manchester Prison Officer. That's it, yeah. And there'll be a Q&A after the 2-hour interview on Sean Atwood's channel, so you can tune in and speak to me there. What I want to talk about today is the sex offenders, treatment of sex offenders in HM prisons. I mean, basically, they don't do very much with them, or they used to do at the Scrubs. When I was at the Scrubs in 1975, that area, they were running a program where they were issuing certain inmates with treatment. They were giving them these tablets to reduce their sexual drive. And of course the problem was that the sex drive was reduced, but it caused a reaction in the prisoners, that the male prisoners began to develop breasts. So whatever this hormone therapy was, it whilst it did reduce their sex drive, it physically changed them, and a lot of them absolutely did object to that. I know that at the Scrubs they had a system whereby they would sit the inmate down and wire them up to like an ECG thing, where they read the brain waves as they showed them indecent images on the screen to ascertain if the medication was working. And they did discover that it was working. Indeed they did. But of course, as I say, there was a physiological change in the nature of the prisoners subjected to this, so there was a degree of controversy there. One of the inmates who was subjected to this treatment at the Scrubs was on D-Wing he committed sex, and he told me, I just, it's not me that's doing it. He said, it's as if I'm being taken over, and it's irresistible. I have to do this, He said, so I am going to stop it. Well, he did stop it. I mean, it was rather a horrible thing to encounter. He got a razor and he removed his equipment and flushed it down the toilet. He nearly died doing that. They got him out to Hammersmith Hospital, but of course after that he wasn't going to commit any further sex offences with that piece of equipment anyway, because it had gone down the drains. How terrible is that? Yeah, these things happen in prison. You notice in most prisons they have what's known as a sex offenders unit or wing, where they keep all the inmates who have been convicted of sexual offences. Things like rape. I mean, raping children, I mean, that is a diabolical offence. But some people do this thing. There was a prisoner at the Scrubs I met there, and he had been convicted of, what he did was he got syrup, and he smeared syrup on his erect penis, and he got babies, 6-month-old babies, to suck the syrup off the end of his erect penis. I mean, what could be possibly going through his brain? He have one. Quite rightly, he was segregated from the rest of the prison because people didn't generally like that kind of offence. And of course, I previously told you that I met the Cambridge rapist. And the strange thing about the Cambridge rapist was, when I knew him, he was attempting to become, he wanted a sex change. He wanted to become a woman. except when he tried to molest me, he jumped out of his cell and he had a homemade dress on that he'd done from a converted bedsheet that he'd painted up, stark naked underneath with an enormous erection. Because the Cambridge rapist wasn't very big, he was about 5'4", something like that, but extremely powerfully built and strong. So you can imagine if he got hold of you, you know, and you're a female, not strong, you know, he would absolutely hold you down and do what the hell he wanted. Well, he did try that with me. He jumped out and he had this enormous erection. Kiss me, Mr. Sutton. I love you. At which point I snatched hold of him and connected him with the side of the door, just his head, you know, gently, to help him back into his cell. And I locked him up. All the staff thought that was hilarious, all shouting after me, "Kiss me, Mr. Sutton. Kiss me, Mr. Sutton." Yeah, I tell you. And the problem is with these sex offenders, there's no treating them. They don't want to be treated. They think it's right. They think it's what it's acceptable. There's one particular pervert that I worked with, not in the prisons. I worked with this man, and he tried to lecture me about how, you know, girls as young as 8 and 9 were fully sexually aware and that they wanted relationships with older men because they actually found them attractive. And he, on numerous occasions, enabled himself to get involved with pre-teenage girls, 11 years old, the one I stopped him from dealing with. He called me to his house. "Oh, I want you to meet my new wife." So I went to his property where he was living in Bolton in Lancashire, and he said, "Come here, John, I'm going to meet..." He's a Texan, you see. "John, I want you to meet my new wife." So, yeah, all right, I'll come over, you know. So I went over there, and there was a lady in the main lounge, and she was about 45. And I thought, this is the lady he's going to marry, because Proby at the time, his name was PJ Proby, at the time, he was about 52. So I thought, somebody 45, about right, you know. So I said, "Hi, nice to meet you, you know, I believe you're getting married to my client, Jim, you know. I'm here to wish you well." And Proby jumped up off the couch. He said, "That's not my fucking wife." And out of the kitchen came an 11-year-old girl. And I said, "Really, James?" "Yeah, we've got this beautiful hotel. We're going there on our honeymoon, and you're invited, John. You're coming to the wedding, John." I said, "Oh, I'll be absolutely delighted, you know." And I said to the lady, I said, "Are you quite happy with this?" "Oh, yes." She said, "He's a lovely man." I thought, yeah, all right. So I got the lady to give me her name and address. I said, "Listen, Jim's got a new record coming out next week. I should be receiving copies within the next few days. Let me send you one." "Wow," she said, "that's really nice of you." So I got a name and address. I said, "I'll put it in the post straight away. I should get them on Monday, Tuesday." "Yeah, well, I look forward to that." And as soon as I got home, I rang up the duty social services and officer and reported the child as being at risk. And do you know what they said to me? It's hard to believe this. The duty social service officer said, "This is a very serious accusation that you're making, Mr. Sutton." I said, "I have given you my name and address. I've given you all the details." I said, "Now, would you give me your name?" "Well, what do you want my name for?" I said, "Listen, in the event that I see that 11-year-old girl anywhere near that man again, I will be reporting not to social services but to the police, and the name I'm going to be giving them is your name." I said, "Now get about your job." Whew. Yeah. And they did. She was never seen again. But the problem I had was that at the time I was working for social services, as a teacher of adults with learning difficulties. And when I got to work the following day, I got a call from the Director of Social Services for Lancashire County Council, my office this afternoon. She said to me, "What's all this about? Hey, what's all this about, PJ Proby?" I said, "Well, he's attempting to associate with an 11-year-old girl, and I feel that it's totally and utterly inappropriate." "Oh," she said, "no. Is that all it is?" I said, "That's it." I said, "But I had to report it. This, by the way, in case you doubt my word, this is the album that I recorded with PJ Proby. Yeah, you can see that. It's called Thanks. The album is called Thanks. And there on the inside there's a list of the tracks. Yeah, as you can see, if you look at track, I think it's track number 5, yeah. Stage of Fools, written by Jay Sutton. That would be me, by the way. That's it. Strange characters, aren't they? Sex offenders. I'm going to sing you a song now that my grandson, who was 9 at the time, was staying with us. We had a caravan in the Lake District, and he came up for a weekend. And on the Saturday morning, he woke up about 8 o'clock, 7:30, something like that. I said, his name's Aaron, by the way. He's 20 years old next week, and he's at university in Leicester studying engineering for a degree in engineering. He's going to do really well, my grandson, Aaron. And I said, "Did you have a good night's sleep, Aaron? You all right?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, I was dreaming of a big fat tree." I said, "Oh." I said, "That's funny, isn't it?" I said, and I had my guitar with me at the time, so I said, let's write a song about that. So Aaron and I sat down, and I strummed along. I won't torture you with that today, though. I'll just sing you the song that we wrote. It's Big Fat Tree by John G. Sutton with Aaron Dowrig. I was dreaming of a big fat tree. I was climbing, there was you and me. When we got to the top, what do you think we could see? It was a big fat tree. We saw flowers, birds in the sky, children laughing to a lullaby. There was peace at last for you and me at the top of the big fat tree. I was dreaming of a big fat tree. I was climbing, there was you and me. When we got to the top, what do you think we could see? It was a big fat tree. We saw people in foreign lands. They were happy and holding hands. Saw rivers running to the sea from the top of the big fat tree. We had struggled, the climb was tough. You helped me when I'd had enough. So yes, together there was you and me. We had climbed the big fat tree. I was dreaming of a big fat tree. I was climbing, there was you and me. When we got to the top, what do you think we could see? It was a big fat tree. They are. Big fat tree. Tales from the jails.